Good. It's okay.
The prizes. We'll start with the fifth prize. I hope everyone's got their tickets to ready, and whoever wins can pull out the next ticket. So for the fifth prize, which is a Marks and Spencer voucher worth £60, Dr. Nonis, let's see who the lucky number 5 is.
Me.
The number is 0257. It's a Srimani Ranasinger.
Oh, she'll be happy.
We will keep that prize for her. Actually, we can take the next one as well, Dr. Lennon, she's not here. So for the fourth prize now, this is the dinner for 2 at Colombo Kitchen. And you'll get a voucher. Okay, 0645, Irene York. Okay, do we have Irene York? Woo! Fantastic.
Yay!
Dinner for 2 at Colombo Kitchen. Fantastic. And she wrote thank you to you.
Oh, wrong one.
Okay, Irene will pull out the third prize, which is a cash prize for £100. Yes, so this is the third prize, cash prize, £100, and it is number 2, but it's the same person, so 0425. I think it's Sarah Singer, who's not here also. That's okay, we'll get back to him. Lionel, why don't you pull out the second prize? So the second prize we have is Tea for 2 at the Ritz.
Tea for 2.
Okay, and this is going to 0628 Marguerite, Alan's mum. Fantastic. Tea for 2 at the Ritz. I think you have to come down one line right there. Okay, now our first prize is a £500 cash prize. We don't have that with us, but it will be transferred to you because it's a large sum of money. I hope that's okay. So you might need a drum roll for this, but I won't disturb the band. Marguerite, you can pull out the lucky first prize winner. Take another one out, it's the same person. Okay, we have 0412, Andrew Ashfield. Catering.
Yeah, well done.
Oh.
Yeah.
He's here.
Wow.
Congratulations.
I can divorce them now.
Okay, well, I have all of your attention. To introduce myself, my name is Christina, the Secretary of DABAL. And I'm going to just take a very few minutes of your time just to talk to you a little bit on, obviously, the day that we're celebrating 20 years of the charity. I thought it's only right to take 2004, 20 years ago. This all happened over dinner, and there were 10 friends, very close to retirement, and they were discussing how they themselves have benefited from the combination of the Sri Lankan education system, but also the UK education system. And they were reflecting on how the education, that this same education they had received was not something that was accessible to many of the young people, and certainly not the differently able children of Sri Lanka. So ultimately this charity was really born out of a desire that they had to give back to their country of their birth. And how did they bring all of this together? Well, actually, they approached PricewaterhouseCoopers, who conducted a research program to identify schools that were in the rural parts of Sri Lanka, that one might often think are the more deprived areas of Sri Lanka, to find deaf and blind schools in these rural parts of Sri Lanka. And they identified 16 schools. So just to give you an idea of how the government support the schools, currently they receive about 50 rupees a day per child to keep them in boarding, and I can tell you that that's virtually nothing. And it's these 16 schools that 20 years on we are still supporting through DABAL. Now, many of you here will know that over the last 20 years there have been a numerous number of successful fundraisers that DABAL have conducted. We've had jewellery sales, we've had high tea at the House of Lords, we've had dinners, and of course we've had music programmes to which people like Alan, we're very grateful for, have contributed a huge amount and supported us over the years. So we're now at a point where actually we're able to support 5 to 6 schools a year, and that is really down to the generosity of so many of you who are sitting here today. I myself actually travelled to Sri Lanka in 2022, and some of you will remember that this was at the height of the economic crisis of the country. We travelled to 9 schools and we delivered funds, but we also spent time to assess and see how previous funding had been used, be that for boarding, be that for equipment, be that for building work, and that's something that we as a charity do very regularly. Since 2022, we've actually been back between the committee maybe 3 to 4 times to assess the schools and how funding is being used. And it's absolutely amazing to follow some of the journeys of these children, some of whom have studied up to NVQ level, some of whom are even going to university now. And I want to be frank and say that I've seen firsthand, the impact of this economic crisis in Sri Lanka, which is an already resource-constrained island, which I might add is still ongoing. And that impact is often felt the greatest amongst those who are the most marginalised in society, the deaf, the blind, the differently abled. And with that, I'm going to wrap up and leave that with you and say, we hope you choose to join us on this journey and venture with us for the next 20 years and beyond. And we hope to free every deaf and blind child from debilitating poverty in Sri Lanka. We also hope to give them an education and allow them to play an integral part of society. And also eradicate the stigma that currently does still exist there that's attached to their disabilities. So please do join us in doing that. Hopefully we'll be doing this again in 20 years and celebrating the charity growing even further. And so I'm going to leave it there and hand it over to Adam.
Thank you, Christina. Now I would like to introduce our patron, Dr. Krishnonis, and I would like Dr. Krishnonis to come and give a little bit of our charity. Please, thank you so much.
Thank you, Ram. Lord Lowe is not here, but firstly, I would like to actually state that it's an enormous privilege that all of you in the committee have asked me to be a joint patron of this wonderful charity. Joint patron together with Right Honourable Lord Lowe, because I have enormous admiration for Lord Lowe. He's been a pioneer in this, in supporting the differently able throughout England and in fact throughout the world. And it's wonderful to us that a charity in Sri Lanka has had the patronage of Lord Lowe. And we must, even in his absence, actually applaud and thank him for all the work he's been doing. And Sir Peter Heath and Lady Heath, Francis Stainton, former Mayor of Hammersmith and Fulham, Lala Bandara, who's running this outfit, and of course the indomitable Nandini Velikala and her daughter Priya. I mean, Nadali has been the one who actually introduced me to DABAL and all the work they've been doing. And at this stage, I always remember Priya, because you all have always made a wonderful couple and an example of unity amongst Sri Lankans in the diaspora. And for that, I also congratulate you, Nadali. It's been just an amazing feast for the senses. You know, when I was young, I was struggling trying to play a bit of Fritz Kreisler on the violin and a bit of Mendelssohn. So it was so nice to hear Elizabeth French with those wonderful. I'd never come across that composer before, actually, but I must say you've now publicized him, and also Chaturika Rajapakse. And also the soprano, Gayathrie Patrick, those beautiful dulcet tones, and I think the three of you really made a wonderful, wonderful evening for all of us. So thank you very much. But I think the singing, the piano and all of that actually made us aware, and it certainly reminded me of the importance of all the senses. And it also reminds us that of the wonderful work you all are doing, that even though one of our senses may be impaired, whether it be in hearing or whether it be in sight, other senses can have the opportunity to actually improve and compensate. But what is important is the work that all of you are doing in transforming lives. In transforming lives, in giving people opportunity to be equal, in giving people the opportunity to not be stigmatized, to remove the stigma, to remove the tremendous discrimination that's still prevalent throughout the world. And also the wonderful work you've been doing. I think it's fantastic that a charity such as yours, doing this one, has been going for 20 years. Congratulations, and that I think we should all applaud all of you. I was first introduced, I had a kind of profound influence in this and in charitable work because Dad was a doctor and Mom was my late father, and my late mother, she was very much involved through our company on our charity fund. But after my mother, so we've been doing a lot of work in charity. A percentage of profits from all our companies used to go to our charity fund, which then served the underprivileged and the marginalized in society. But after my late mother passed away, and she'd been running our company, all of a sudden, some sisters, some nuns from a charitable home, a home for the hearing impaired, way out of Colombo, called us, and we didn't even know them. And she said, well, your late mother has passed away, but please, we would like you as her children to come and open the hall that she had donated to the hearing impaired. And even though we were aware of all the charitable work, we were not aware of all the stuff she had done, even privately. And so we went along, me and my sisters, to this home, and all the little children were there, charming as ever with their little hearing aids and all the rest. And what struck me was there were some beautiful designs that the children had done for this event, for the opening of this hall. And apparently my mom had donated this because she realized that what happens with the differently abled, sometimes in countries like us where there's not a huge support system, is that it drives them to poverty, because a lot of the time the parents have to work, they need a carer at home, and sometimes they are unable to get to schools where there is no stigma, where they are surrounded by like-minded children. And so therefore she had donated a hall so that the children could stay the night. And it is then that I realized the importance of this and how it is important to actually have places like this. And I think that's the sort of support that you all are giving with this charity. And we saw on the doors beautiful paintings. So these were hearing impaired children, and it showed us that when one sense decreases, their vision had really, really flowered. And there were stunning designs. So turned around to the sisters and said, oh sister, where are these kids working? Because they were 17, 18. And she laughed at me and said, what a silly question, doctor. Do you think all your big companies all the Colombo companies would give these little children a job? So they just do it. So we then talked amongst ourselves and said, well, I don't mind trying a few of these kids if they're of that age, and if they'd like to work, for example, in our graphic design, in our IT company. And she said, well, why don't you take one? I said, well, I better take two. There's safety in numbers, and then they'll have someone who will actually, they'll feel companionship. So we took a few kids, and our IT chaps, who were boys and girls, who, you know, they saw us as dinosaurs, because in IT, you're always very contemporary, and they saw the old people, and they were very hard to manage. Normally IT people are way out and very contemporary and always think that we're dinosaurs. So I was a bit worried how they would cope, these two children. Would they have prejudice? Would they have stigma? But you know what was amazing was that these kids, after a few weeks, all these so-called hotshots in software actually started caring for them. And it is the kids who made a profound impact on these trendy hotshots. And they actually disciplined them. And then the second point I realized was that after a few weeks, they started doing designs, and they kept showing them to me. And we wanted to transfer these designs using IT onto different souvenirs which we were selling, and the percentage of the profits we were giving back to the home. So we wanted them to produce really good stuff. But initially, I didn't think it was up to the right standard, but they kept showing them to me. And I said, well, look, you need to improve. I told them how to improve. Our IT guys were telling me how to improve their designs. And they were, even the IT people were sort of saying, I think, Doctor, no, he's being a bit tough on these kids, you know. He keeps telling them it's not good enough, it needs to improve. But I said it's because, even though you're differently abled, you can be of the same standard or a higher standard than the normal able-bodied people. So you don't necessarily always need to rely on people's charity, but get to a high standard. So after a few months, they got to a superb standard. Even though they thought we were being a bit tough, I wanted them to get to a standard better than us. So they got to a very good standard, and I approved it. And I said, yes, it's time to print these onto the mugs and the t-shirts. It's absolutely superb. And you know what? The differently able kids then said, not good enough. So my standard was not good enough for them, and then I knew we had succeeded. Because when we take differently abled children and make them as good enough or better than us, then we have succeeded. And I think all the work that you all are doing will help kids like this, will help them to transform their lives, will help to remove the stigma, and will help them to actually assimilate into general society. So it remains for me to thank you all for the wonderful work you're doing. It's an enormous privilege to have been invited to be a joint patron, and I wish you all the very best in the work you're doing in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Chris. I think we'll let you compare the concert next year, because you know so much about music and you have such an appreciation. Okay, so this is a DABAL first, I believe. We now have a jazz quintet to perform for us. The Emma Callister Quintet, regularly gigging around London, and Emma has been singing across the UK and the US, and internationally indeed, for the past 10 years, and her new quintet is going to bring us an incredible mix of R&B, classic jazz and swing, reimagined in her own signature style. So please welcome, on drums, Mike Howard, on bass, AJ Chandrasena, on saxophone, John Herbert, and on piano, Finn Catlin, and to sing for us, Emma Callister.
Miss the Saturday down, hurl around the floor. I wouldn't better without you. Don't get around anymore. There is a big cloud, go as far as we go. See, baby, that's without you. Don't get around anymore. Get around, darling, I guess my mind's more empty. But nevertheless, what's the point? Spinning right on day, lighter than the waterfall. I can never without you. Don't get around anymore. Such an honour and a pleasure to be here, celebrating 20 years of DABAL. So thank you so much for asking us. Such an amazing charity, and it's been wonderful to hear more about it tonight. And it's particularly wonderful me being back here. This is the church that I grew up in and first started singing in the choir just up there. And the musicals here. My dad used to perform here, so it's just amazing being back amongst friends who are more like family, really. So yeah, it's just lovely being back here. Thanks.
Weird because it's so beautiful and sunny today. The leaves are breaking, tumbling down. Remember, I said in September, in the rain, the fires and hours of light at night. I said in September, in the rain.